Hello, a quick video on the new CashScript beta release for version 0.8.0, which includes full cash token support. The documentation for this lives on next.cashscript.org, and this release was announced on Twitter. We have been working hard to add support for cash tokens to the CashScript SDK, and today we're releasing version 0.8.0-next.2. It can be installed by running npm install CashScript at next to get the latest beta release. The proper version 0.8.0, which leaves beta, will only be available May 15th when the cash tokens upgrade activates on mainnet. So let's take a look at the release notes. Both the CashScript compiler, so the CashScript smart contract language, and the CashScript SDK, so the JavaScript tooling to make Bitcoin Cash smart contract transactions, have been upgraded. So now CashScript is the ideal tooling to build your smart contract project on Bitcoin Cash. So let's take a look at what is new for the compiler. It says added support for the new cash tokens introspection functionality. So if you take a look at guides, covenants, and introspection, you will see a list of the accessible introspection data fields. And this list is longer than before because now it includes the for the inputs, tx.inputs and then a number.token category, .nft commitment, .token amount, and the same for the outputs, token category, NFT commitment, and token amount. So token amount is speaks for itself, the amount of fungible tokens, here for the inputs, here for the outputs. NFT commitment is the NFT commitment, so the data field for the NFT of the input or of the NFT of the output. And then the a bit more complex is the token category. The token category is just a token category. So the 32-byte token ID, so which is also a transaction ID. But for tokens which have an NFT, this also includes the token capability. So this can be either minting or mutable. So this is something to be aware of, and you can read the details of these 6 new introspections opcodes in the CashScript documentation, cash tokens documentation. So I'd encourage you to take a look at this. And here it says, if the UTXO does not include a non-fungible token with capability, push the tokens category. Otherwise, push a concatenation of the tokens category and the capability. Yeah. So examples of this, of these new introspection data fields can be seen here, keeping local state in NFTs. I advise you to go through all this, but here you can see the .nft commitment being used, and then issuing NFTs as receipt. Here you can see the token category and the token amount being used. So these are prime use cases to test out with the new CashScript features. And then the last thing to take a look at is the upgraded CashScript SDK. So if you take a look at JavaScript SDK, you will see sending transactions is now, there is now a new field, a token field, which is optional. And here you can see the details. So if you want to send a token somewhere to a smart contract or from a smart contract, you provide a couple of arguments: the amount of fungible tokens, the token category, optionally an NFT object with a capability, one of the 3 we discussed before, non-mutable or minting, and a commitment field, so the unique, the data field for this NFT. So this is the interface for the token details object that you can pass in as an optional parameter to the transaction.toSend function. And the same for the from function. The UTXOs are now extended with the token data. So if you take a look at get UTXOs, then you see the UTXO class now takes a token object in the same fashion. Also note, if you have played with CashScript before, you can take a look at the migration notes. And one thing that is new is that now you can no longer use number inputs for constructor arguments, function arguments, or in/output amounts. Use big int instead. So again, if we take a look at sending transactions, you see this is a big int. This is also a big int. So what this means is this is a JavaScript type. We can take a look at the getting started. and these are just like numbers, but they have an n at the end, and they can't have a decimal place, so they are always integers. So this is how what you should pass in now for contract arguments and for Satoshi amounts. Oh, and one last thing in the release notes is that the locking bytecode pay2script hash has been renamed to locking bytecode pay2script hash 20 because there has been a new introduction of locking bytecode pay2script hash 32. This means there's a new smart contract address which is more secure. You can read the details about this also in the CashScript documentation, the global variables. In here, locking bytecode pay2script hash 20. It's called pay2script hash 20 because it takes a 20 byte pay2script hash, and the new one takes a 32 byte script hash. And as you can see, the old pay2script hash 20 addresses use bytes which are only 20 bytes long, and they are vulnerable to hash collision attacks in situation where the attacker can introduce arbitrary data to the contract. So this is the new default, longer and more secure addresses. You can still use the old locking bytecode for your smart contract, but then you will need to pass in an options object to the contract initiation. So before you only had at contract initiation, you only had artifact, constructor arguments, and the provider. Now you still have the artifact and the constructor arguments, but then an options object which includes the provider or the address type, and the address type is then pay2script hash 20, which is the old address type and less secure, or the new pay2script hash 32, which is used by default. So I think that is all you need to know about the CashScript update. If you want to upgrade your existing project, take a look at the migration notes. Otherwise, take a look at the release notes, and be sure to check out some of the examples listed in the guide. So in the governance guide, keeping local state in NFTs and issuing NFTs as receipts. Thank you all for checking out this video, and talk to you later.